Hey, 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 hey. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Get you going. Hey, welcome back to Candid Talk with Lexee Love and
Valentina vs. Valentino.
Yay, it is Wednesday again, and guess what? We have a special guest with us. And tell everybody what your name is.
My name's Jillian.
And who do you belong to?
My mom.
Is Valentina? That's great. You know what? We wanted to introduce the lady that incorporated rapid relay for us, and I wanted her to come on and just play, to let everybody know that, hey, I'm the one that told Lexee Love to do this.
So the advisor.
Yes, my advisor. So are you ready? Ready? Okay, cool. So once we do the rapid relay, then we're going to go into the drink, and then we're going to go into what our title of our podcast is and talk about, our pet peeves, anything good happened this week kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to go. So Miss Thang, you're going to see if you can beat your mom, okay? You ready? So the first question is favorite entertainer.
Cardi B.
Megan Sally.
Okay, favorite song?
Search and Rescue by Drake.
Doja Cat.
That's an entertainer, but okay. Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Strawberry shortcake.
Cookies and cream.
Favorite movie?
Us.
Color Purple.
Color Purple. Oh my God. She went way back.
You're right. I was
She
thinking,
went way. She couldn't think.
No, I couldn't think of nothing else.
I know it's kind of hard with titles, of movies. Favorite decade?
2000s.
Yeah.
2013.
2013, when you were born? Yay, you did so good. So, well, yeah, that ends that.
Yeah.
So we love you. We are glad that you participated, and you can go ahead and go off set.
See you later.
Bye, baby. Bye. So, Miss Valentina, what drink did you make for this special podcast?
So I just
You don't even remember? What's the
no,
name
I mean
of it?
I know the name of the drink.
Okay, what's the name of the drink?
It's called Kew Garden.
It is pretty.
Never heard of it, but it's pretty much Saint Germain, rum, simple
Oh
syrup,
my gosh, it's fresh.
muddled mint, and muddled cucumber with some lemon.
Oh my gosh. This is really good. This is really good. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
I can taste the mint. I can taste the cucumber. But it's not.
And it's topped off with club soda.
Okay. And you know what? It's not. I think if you had maybe, because it's so light, I think if you had maybe 2 or 3, that you probably start feeling it. Because you know how a lot of times when you drink drinks, and if it's not strong, you're like, I'll get another one. Next thing you know.
I made this kind of strong. It's easy to drink. It's light.
Really?
Like you said.
It is. It's refreshing. Like, it's really refreshing.
I think it's a club soda that kind of like tones it down. But it's almost like drinking water.
Pretty much, yeah. So what was the name of it again? Tell the people again.
Q, as in Kew, and then garden.
Kew Garden. Well, it definitely is very refreshing, and I like it. It tastes really good. Oh, and just before we move forward, WealthCity.shop was I was having issues with my credit card, so I got that fixed. So you guys can get back to ordering our different, especially our tumbler. I always push the tumbler because I think it's a great product. I use it for everything, my tea, my water, anything that I'm drinking. It's great to put in your car. It's great to take, to walk with. I just love it. And so we're trying to get more different themes, but right now we just need more orders in order to get, different themes. But I like the theme because I like art. So that's why I picked it. So don't forget to check out wealthcity.shop. I know it's like a mouthful. And check out our items and support us. We really would appreciate that if you supported us. So did you have any pet peeves or anything exciting this week that happened to you? You always get stuff
because I just like draw a blank because I'm just like so much stuff like goes on in my brain. I'm just like, I don't know. I guess I just have to learn to be patient. I guess that's the key for the week for me.
It's actually the hardest thing I think for anybody to do is to wait and be patient
and just like trust the process.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about it. Oh, I love the way you put your hair up, by the way. I really love it. You know, it's so cute. It makes you look like a little girl.
Especially with this little shirt on.
I know. That's one of my favorite shirts. Like, I love that shirt. I might have to borrow it.
I think this is the only kind of black related shirt that I have.
Really? I actually like it, especially with this. It's different. Yeah. And, you know, Miss Fashion Nova over here. Right. But you always were that because you went to school in New York for that. For a short time.
For fashion styling.
Yeah, and I think some people just naturally can do that.
Yeah,
it's just
have
a
the
gift
eye for it.
It's just a gift. And, you know, I think that's an awesome gift. But for me, pet peeve, gosh, I guess my pet peeve, really, I don't really have any that's real specific.
Right.
I just don't like, I guess my pet peeve will always be liars and people that tell half truths and people who think they're protecting you when they really are making it worse. And when I say that, like they won't tell you the truth or they'll hide it from you. And then when their actions speak exactly what they should tell you, then, you know, that becomes a problem for me. That's like a big pet peeve. It's like, I don't trust you. I don't want to be around you. I don't want to talk to you. None of that. But the exciting news for me, I know, I just want to be you know what you're looking at.
Well, because I knew you was in a mood this whole week. So this is kind of the first time that I'm like, I guess somewhat hearing about it.
Yeah. I mean, it was other things, a combination of this bracelet. You know, my mom, she gave this to me, so I wanted to wear it, but you know,
that's beautiful.
I was kind of missing my mom for Mother's Day. It was kind of, you know, it's a little, and then you know, I had a lot of memories that came onto my Facebook as well, and that kind of just put me in a funk.
But that was like what, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it just kind of lingered. It kind of, you know what I mean? Kind of lingered. Not in a bad way. It's just that sometimes when you're going through things and you don't have that person who always told you the truth no matter what, you kind of, I mean, you need that person. Something's in my eye. But that's how I was.
Maybe it's your hair.
That's how I was feeling. Yeah. That's how I was feeling. There's other combinations and stuff. I don't know what it is.
Okay, I see it.
You see it?
It's actually on your
pupil. on my So the title for this podcast today is called Vulnerable in a Relationship. So I just think that a lot of times when we get into relationships, we tend to be vulnerable. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about the whole spectrum of vulnerability. There's really no questions. It's just your experience that you've had, my experience, and how I'm going to lead it is just basically what the definitions of it that I found.
Right.
And then the negative definitions of vulnerability and then the positive of vulnerability and how it incorporates in a relationship.
Like stereotypes?
Just relationships, period. It doesn't have to necessarily be stereotypes. It's just something that goes on in relationships. Mostly, to me, when we're vulnerable, and I'm talking about romantic relationships.
Right.
Because you as my daughter, you're always going to be vulnerable with me. And I'm not going to hurt you in the sense of maybe a romantic relationship would hurt you, or someone who claims that they like you or want to get to know you, and you become vulnerable to them, and then they slap you in the face.
Not literally, right?
Well, not literally, but just the fact that they can't be honest. They put on a visage. Right. And then when you feel like we're vulnerable, to me, I think that's where the negative feelings come in. But I actually wanted to, since we're talking about being vulnerable, there were some songs that I wanted to, that I feel like men write, and they always write about vulnerability. So I always feel like they're marketing to women more so than men, because I don't know. So these are the few of the songs, that titles. And if you know any of them or like them, you can just say it. I Want to Be Loved by Eric Benet. You know that song?
It's the one we just listened to?
I Want to Be Loved. Probably earlier. You probably have to hear it, right?
Yeah,
but I'm sure probably a lot of people that are in my age group, or maybe just a little younger, probably know it and remember it. And a lot of people don't know who Avery Wilson is, but Song for You, you know that song? You know that Song for You?
And I probably have to hear
it. I was singing it earlier when you were making the drink.
I like that song.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. And let's see, Someone to Love. I love Mint Condition. I love everything. I think
I know.
Yeah, I used to listen to Mint Condition. Like, remember when CDs were out, and I come home from work, and you guys are little, I would sit there and just listen to that CD like 3 or 4 times until I went to bed. I love Mint Condition. Yeah. Joy, Blackstreet. You probably remember Blackstreet. Blackstreet was around when you were a kid. And Spend My Life With You, Eric Benet, Tamia, Kevin Davis. You know that song, right? That's kind of like a wedding song. But all these songs are vulnerability in love.
Right.
That's why I'm bringing them up. And then Sometimes I Cry by Eric Benet as well. I don't know. I just like Eric Benet. I think he's just a great song artist. He has a beautiful voice.
I'm surprised you don't got Brian McKnight on there.
Well, of course I can't. You know what? Brian McKnight, everything Brian McKnight, every album that he's ever put out. So that, to me, that was kind of cliche.
I love Brian McKnight.
We were supposed to go to his before the pandemic. We were going to go because he came to Atlanta.
Are you sure it was?
Yeah, it was Brian McKnight, because you was like, Mom, Brian McKnight, I think he was supposed to come, I don't know, it was in June of 2020. And you were like, I really want to go, and I want to take you.
Right.
And then the pandemic happened, and that was got scratched. Yeah, because I think he's one of the few artists that I have not seen in concert.
Yeah, because I know he's probably going to sing a lot of his old stuff, so.
I mean, because, that's pretty much what made him famous, was all those songs. The beautiful songs, too. And his stuff is vulnerable love.
Definitely.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, okay, all you men are singing these vulnerable songs. Where do you guys exist?
Right.
Like, where do you live? I need to know. Does Amazon sell that? I mean, what's going on?
Right.
So, I wanted to bring up the meaning that when I Googled the actual word vulnerable, it brought up negative meanings first. And I was surprised. I was like, dang, that it's negative. And, so the meaning of vulnerable, according to Google, easily or physically or mentally hurt, influenced or attacked a group within the society is either opposed or more susceptible to harm. I'm going to stop right there because I want you to absorb everything that I said. And to me, when I read that, I was like, dang. I sometimes I feel like the way things are going on in the world,
right, that
people who are what is the word for it? Gosh, there's a saying, and I can't even think of it. It's not even in my memory. You can't help me. Oh gosh, I can't even think of it. But those who, I will just say, people who make the laws, people who do certain things, I feel that they think that the society is vulnerable because just based off those negative definitions,
Right.
that's how we're treated. We're treated like that, and to me, especially the Black community.
Oh yeah, definitely, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. It's it was like when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, that resonated so much, and it's like that is so negative. Is that how they really feel and think about us, just based on the things that we see and the things that are going on.
Right.
So I will move on to the next negative is in danger, unprotected, at risk, exposed, unfaced, and defenseless. Yes. So what do you think is defenseless? Unborn babies, women, children. I mean, it's just kind of like we're put in this category of being vulnerable. Like, and yeah, and so it's kind of like I can understand why men that get in a romantic relationship don't want to be vulnerable, because if these are negative words that are attached to being vulnerable, I mean, would you really want to be vulnerable?
Oh, I did. Now I'm kind of interested in what the good of it says, because I'm like, that's what you hear people say they want. They want to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
They want people to be vulnerable. And
Yes.
it's like,
a lot of podcasts.
I don't think people really, I guess maybe they never looked at the definition.
Because that's you know what? That's exactly what I thought when I read that. I was just like, dang, all of these dating gurus and these relationship gurus,
Right.
they say to be vulnerable. And then if a man looked up and said, okay, well, let me see what vulnerable is,
Right.
he gonna look at that, he gonna be like, hell no, I'm not gonna be that.
Right.
So, you know, it's really kind of like, it took me, when I read it, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and use it because it's a definition, the first definitions that came up. So yeah.
So you just looked it up, the
I wanted
definition,
to-
today?
No, I looked, when I did my content, of course, I looked it up, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy. So let's move on to some more. Emotionally vulnerable, putting yourself out there intentionally or unintentionally.
Okay.
And I feel like most men don't do that. Since we're talking, we're exclusively, we talked about other stuff, but I'm exclusively talking about romantic vulnerability.
Right.
That most men won't do it. That they won't be emotionally vulnerable.
Right.
And it's kind of just like, I'm not sitting there saying that they're not, but I feel like a lot of them, they won't, when they're starting to get to know you and really getting to know you, or wanting to get to know you, they have a tendency to not do that. It's like, at what point, how are you going to get somebody else to open up if you are not vulnerable in the getting to know relationship? Because I think at some point, women, we have a tendency to say, okay, well, if this person isn't going to be vulnerable to me, why should I be vulnerable to them? Like, just because I'm a female doesn't mean that I need to be vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then the last one, well, no, I still got some more. That's how much of negative definitions that this word carries. A vulnerable person in a relationship may be in a position where the other person can hurt you. So referring back to relationship vulnerability, I feel like a lot of men refuse to be vulnerable.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you've experienced that in relationships in the past. I mean, you're a lot younger than me, so you may not have had a lot of relationships to, think about, but have you ever felt like when you were in a relationship with someone that they made you question like this person is not vulnerable. They're not opening up to me. They're not allowing me to really get to know them?
Just a couple people, but most of the time it was me not letting my wall down.
Okay. Was there a reason why?
I think it's just me personally.
Yeah.
It's just something that I have to work on myself.
Yeah. Is it because the person didn't make you feel comfortable about being vulnerable to them, or they just, your intuition was like, nah, I'm not going to be vulnerable with this person?
I just think I just don't like being vulnerable.
Okay.
To me, it's a sign of weakness, honestly.
See, that's what I was thinking you were going to say.
No,
But actually there's more definitions of it.
Stay tuned.
I know, huh? Stay tuned. But I'm thinking back on relationships that I have been in where in the beginning stages of it, I felt like if I was a little bit vulnerable, that they would open up, and they end up showing me that they were actually a rattlesnake. And when I say that, I mean that they absorbed all this stuff that I was saying, and they were calculating and saying, okay, no, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. And so to me, vulnerability, I don't know if I could ever be vulnerable with anybody ever again because of that. And
Right.
the first time that I ever was vulnerable with someone. I mean, we're gonna move into the definition between vulnerable and openness. Those are two opposite definitions. They do not mean the same. So I can be more open in a relationship as far as communication and information, but I'll never be vulnerable ever again. I probably won't. That it will take Clark Kent, and when I say Clark Kent, because we know Superman and Clark Kent are the same person, but Clark Kent had a different personality than Superman. Right. Superman had an ego. Clark Kent did not. I want a Clark Kent. I don't want a Superman, because to me, a man who cannot be vulnerable, he carries his ego on his shoulders. And it's all about show for them. It's all about, oh, well, I'm with this person because they're something or somebody, when actuality, that person may not even love you or care about you.
Right.
But I know, you're just like, okay.
What's really going on?
Love, yeah, there's a lot going on. You know what? I'm the type of person, I think a lot. I am an overthinker, and I think a lot, and I pay attention. People who don't think that I don't pay attention to they shit, I pay attention to everything. I pay attention to what you say to me. I pay attention to what you've told me in the past. I pay attention to... I don't forget nothing. I'm a freaking actress. I can't forget. So every single thing that you've ever told me, I remember everything. Don't forget that. Don't forget it.
Sounds like blackmail to me.
No, it's not blackmail. It's just letting them know that you shouldn't do that to people. You shouldn't be that way to people. You should be just honest and upfront. Be honest and upfront. It don't matter if my feelings get hurt. I'm going to get hurt if you lie to me. I'm going to get hurt if you tell me half truth. I'm going to get hurt if you pretend.
Right.
Especially when I was vulnerable. I'll never be vulnerable. I'll never be vulnerable. I'm just going. It's like,
you gotta let it out, right?
Oh, so here's another one. A vulnerable person. Now, this is what they said about vulnerable person, which I don't think that's true, because to me, a vulnerable person is going to be more open. Well, not more open, but more engaging. So vulnerable person, this is what it says. Vulnerable person, inability to communicate aggression or other unusual social response. To me, that's, I don't know. I don't know if you agree with that or not, because I'm big on communication.
Right.
I can communicate. Only time I'm not going to communicate with you if you done piss me off so much where it's like it's not even worth it.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. So to me, that definition of it is kind of like, I guess it depends on the person.
Right.
But if I'm vulnerable with someone, I want to communicate. I want to tell them. I want to open my inner self to them. So yeah. So there's 4 types of vulnerability: physical, social, economic, and environmental. And this goes back to the people in the shadows. That's when I feel like that's how they feel about us. Is that they look at us physically right. Meaning you, color of your skin, you're vulnerable. Your social status may not be 1%er, you're vulnerable. Your economic, same way, you may not have the best job, so you're vulnerable. And your environment, meaning that if you live in the hood or the ghetto or in a not so great place, you're vulnerable. So that's just what, no, you're just kind of like, wow, we're in college right now. I'm learning just as much as you're learning, because it's like, I never realized how people, and now I'm understanding how people who look down on people because they think they're vulnerable, just based on these 4 types of vulnerability.
Right.
And so now it kind of makes me feel like now I'm understanding why people treat certain people a certain way. Right. Because in the back of their mind, they're vulnerable. Oh, I know this is like you for the last 2 podcasts, you were like, chatterbox is like, I need to pull some information out of you,
No, it's just,
I mean, you can talk about your experiences if been vulnerable in any situation. You don't have to go like in super detail, but maybe you were in a situation where you let down not only your guard, but you were trustworthy to that person.
No.
And not anybody. Mm-mm. Not anyone. No. Not even your first love.
No.
You were vulnerable to them?
No.
Wow.
No, I guess it's just my personality. Like, I've just always been the strong one. I've just always dealt with things my way.
Were you afraid to be vulnerable with anybody that you dealt with?
It never crossed my mind.
Seriously? I raised a child that has no emotions. None. So how do you think you're going to find love if you're not going to ever be vulnerable?
Because I feel like...
Does he have to be vulnerable first?
I feel like it's not something that's necessary.
You don't think it's necessary? So how are you going to get to know that person, the true nature of that person, if they can't be vulnerable with you and you can't be vulnerable with them?
I mean, most people are, but it's just kind of like what you see is what you get. Like, I don't have to tell you about all the negative things that have happened to me, It doesn't have to be negative. That's the thing. When I'm talking about vulnerability, I'm talking about who you are as an individual. Your experiences don't always have to incorporate in that vulnerability things that I don't know, you're happy about, joyful about, the music that you like, the right. type of, I don't know. To me, that's not being vulnerable. Of course, I tell people about my life and they know me and I get to know them, but it's not like...
But there's some things that you don't share with everybody. There's some things you don't share with everybody. And there's never been that one person where you're like, I want to share this because I really want them to know my soul.
I guess, but I wouldn't call it being vulnerable.
Okay, well, maybe you may change your mind on that. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Positive meanings of vulnerable. Love makes us feel feel vulnerable. So that means you may not have ever been in love. Now, I'm just saying, these are definitions that I found, the negative and the positive of being vulnerable. And it says love makes us vulnerable because you want that person to know who you are, whether it's a negative experience, a positive experience of your life.
I mean, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I definitely wouldn't say that.
So have you ever been in love?
Yes, I have.
Did you share a lot about who you were to this person?
Yes, I did. Did it come and bite me in the butt? No, because things, I don't know, all my relationships have just been different. It's always, I feel like it's been sometimes mutual, sometimes not mutual, but sometimes things just needed to end. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get that. But I mean, I feel like when you have a sense of love for someone, and I'm not saying necessarily in love with them at first,
right?
But then you could meet somebody and something about them makes you say, you know what, this is a person for me, and I'm going to be vulnerable with this person. So, I mean, that's a positive, that love does makes us vulnerable. And I don't know if...
Oh, maybe I'm just hardcore. Maybe I'm just different
are.
breed. I think that's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was brought up. I was taught that love conquers all. That's how I was raised. Love conquers all.
Who told you that? Nan or people?
Who you think?
I don't know. That's what I'm
My
asking.
mother, of course.
You say it like it's a bad thing.
No, I'm just saying, no, it's a really good thing.
But I think that's great advice for that time. But
that's what I'm saying. Now that we are in the I don't know if not in the I don't know, the mid 21st century. I don't know if you call it mid, but right there in the 1/4 of the 21st century. I think people are not like that anymore. I think people
they're not.
I think people are about what I can get, who is going to benefit me, and they kick love to the curb.
Right.
They kick love. It's all about getting my bag, and this person I got on my arm makes me look good. I don't care nothing about his ass, or she don't care nothing about my ass, but she look good on my arm.
Right.
And he's gonna pull me up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's far and in between. I'm not sitting there saying that there are not people that are not like that, because there are. We cannot sit there and say that, because that would be a lie. It's just that, even now, me being in the dating scene, I have come in contact, and I even hate saying this. I probably came in contact with probably right now 25 guys. 25. And I'm this type of person where I'm straightforward. I got to be straightforward with them. I had one guy where, he was kind of, I thought he was a potential. He asked me, he was like, oh, we can go bowling or we can go to Top Golf. And I was like, cool, whatever. And I talked to him he would always say, you're so busy, I want to call you, whatever. I'm like, sure, you can call me. And he called me, we talked on the phone a few times. And then he's like, oh, when you want to go? And I'm just like, just let me know when you are available and I can work around that time.
Right.
So then I get to now where I don't save phone numbers in my phone anymore. I don't save them. Like, I just be like, and I have to ask, who is this? I be straight up, because I'm tired of saving motherfuckers' numbers now.
Just to delete them.
Just to delete them. So I don't save anybody's number anymore. If you text me, and I probably ain't gonna know who you are. I'm gonna ask you, who is this? I had to do that to a few guys. Who is this? I need to know. They don't even ask. They're like, oh, you didn't say my number? Because if they ask me, did you say my number? I'll be like, nope. I ain't save your number until this is something that is going to keep going because I'm not saving numbers no more.
Right.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And so there was his, I'm not gonna tell you his name, but there was another guy with the same name, and he was a older guy. And so I had to go back and look, and it's like, oh, it's like you sound older than you actually look. Did you know I ain't hear from this person anymore? Like I hurt their feelings or something. It's like, and I put a smiley face, everything. It's like, what is going on with these weak men? Like they're freaking weak.
It was a younger guy, you think it was, that you sent it to?
No, I know who it was. But at first I lost, I didn't remember. And then once I remembered, I was like, oh, because he sounds older on the phone. But he's actually a guy that is probably, I think he's like 48, something like that.
But did you ever tell him he sounds older on the phone?
I did. I told him. I was like, oh, I said, now I know. Now I remember who you are, but you sound older on the phone. And he never responded back. So I'm thinking he's mad because he was responding back to me. And then when I actually text him, he never responded back. And then I think it's funny because it's just like telling me, okay, this guy's not for you. Because if they can't even deal with that personality of me, how the heck are you going to deal with all the other personalities that I have? Like, when I don't like something, I get mad. When anything. I mean, I feel like everybody has more than one personality because different things trigger something else to come out. And I don't mean that in a weird mental way. It's just that our emotions are different in different situations. Right. So I'm just like, if you can't even deal with me on a
you gotta take the bad with the good, right?
Yeah. If you can't even deal with me lightly, how do you think you're gonna deal with me any other kind of way? Right. So and then the guys, for some reason, they want you to call them. Like, call you. I had to tell this one guy, he's like, oh, you're not gonna, he goes, I asked you if you wanted my phone number a couple times, and since you did not respond, then I don't think this is gonna be a great, I wanna say the word, but boy, why didn't you ask me for my phone number? Why are you asking me if I want your phone number? Right. And I had to tell him, I'm gonna say, look, to me, if a guy is interested, he's gonna ask you for your phone number and he's going to call you. This is like really like mind-boggling to me. Like mind-boggling. I'm just like, man, I said they need to make some AIs so I can just have an AI man. Because at least I can program him how I want to program him.
Seriously? You would go for that?
At this point in time, probably. Just because it's
that's a robot, right?
Yeah, I know it's a robot. But at least you can program him for him to act right. You need to sip your drink.
We just got two different problems, I guess.
I don't know. It's just kind of like, it's weird. Because I'm in that in-between stage where I got guys they're 30 years old reaching out to me. I don't even bother. I'm like, dude, there ain't nothing I can do for you. You got a whole 2 decades of women
right.
that you need to be trying to figure out to be with. I'm not one of them.
Right.
That's how I feel. I don't like the competition of that big of a competition.
Right.
I need it to be small, and it's not anything to feel like I don't have anything to bring to the table. It's we go with that. Have anything to offer in the relationship. It's just that. Why do I need it? I'm not competing with younger women.
Right.
I'm not doing it.
It's so funny you said bring something to the table. I'm sure you probably seen it on social media, but I guess Steve Harvey had there was a reel about him saying, I don't understand young boys these days, so they always ask women, what do you bring to the table? You seen it, right?
Probably. I've probably seen it. Yeah, and it is a thing. It's like a thing. Like they looking for a mama.
Right.
I don't remember. That's not how men. To me, that's not how true masculine men are supposed to be.
Right. They want to take care. They want to.
They want to be taken care of.
They want to take care. They want to provide. They want to. Like what's when we did the panel, and the one guy was like, "What's his name? The one that does podcasts. The one that was
D-Trail.
Yeah, how he was just like, you want to serve. You need to be able to serve your woman.
Yeah. You should
You have to want to. Yeah.
Yeah, and you want it because what happens is that when a man
And
leaves,
it's true.
when a man
very
leaves,
true.
when a man leads properly, the woman's gonna follow. She is going to follow. But then to me, he has to have enough respect for himself to want to step up and be in that position.
Right.
To me, that's a lot of, I mean, and I'm pretty sure we might get a lot of flack about this, but there's a lot of men I feel like that don't respect themselves. They act like they respect themselves, but they don't really respect themselves because they never want to step up to the plate. They always want the woman to step up to the plate first.
Right.
And get hit with the ball.
Yeah.
Instead of him. And that's probably for another podcast. But yeah, it's I was trying to think of another situation where, gosh, there was another guy, same thing. Oh, well, you don't want to, since you don't want to call me, then I guess I can't really be interested in you. Where do these people come from? Are they from where? What is it? Women are from Venus, men are from Mars, or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they're coming from Mars now. Because this is crazy to me. I'm like, what do you mean? And I had to tell him, if a man is interested in a woman, he's going to call her.
Right.
Because once you show me that you are interested in me, of course I'm going to initiate it.
Yeah.
That's how, to me, that's how it's set up. But when you put the horse before the cart, then I feel like then I'm gonna be masculine in the relationship. I'm gonna demand this is how it's gonna be, and if you don't freaking like it, then you can move on.
Right.
And that wimpy ass man is gonna be like, oh, okay, that's how I feel. If you can't even be strong in the initiation of a relationship, how are you gonna be strong in any other part of the relationship? If you're always depending on the woman to do all the work, she's going to think, well, our roles have changed and I'm going to be the man.
Right.
And you're going to do what I say. And your butt's going to be in the kitchen, scrubbing the floor and vacuuming and all that crazy stuff. Not sitting there saying that a man can't do that. What I'm saying is that a woman, I feel like if you're making her do all the work first, then she's always going to want to do the work first in the relationship. Always. Because that's how you set it up. How you set up a relationship in the beginning is how it's always going to be throughout the relationship. That's just from my experience, and that's just from what I gather and what I've been taught. My mother was, when it came to us, my mother was the caretaker. Yes, did she have jobs outside of the home? Of course she did. But anytime something went wrong, guess what we called? My mom. We didn't call my dad. Anytime the house needed to be clean, do you think my dad was the initiator of it? No, my mother was. Did my mother teach us how to care and love and take care of each other? It was my mother. That was her role. Even though she worked because she wanted to work. She worked because she was like, I want my own money. Right. I got my own little bank account over here, and this is what I do. And when I want to buy something for myself or my kids, that's what I do. Not sitting there saying that my dad was not a provider, because he was. But my mother was always the go-to. Mm-hmm. Always. And that was just the role that we had. Anytime love, it came from my mother. And, I'm not sitting there saying that my dad did not, but I think a lot of my vulnerability was taught by my mom and not my father. And I think that's, unfortunately, I think that's probably a lot of problems with females now Not saying all. We're not saying
They didn't get that
all.
affection from their dad.
They didn't get the affection and your father being vulnerable to their daughters. And so a daughter does not, when she grows up, she doesn't know what it means. She doesn't know how to receive it. She doesn't know how to accept it, and she doesn't know how to give it.
Right.
And I feel like looking on my life and my experiences, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. So then I tried to do it, and I feel like it was thrown back in my face that, like you're not good enough. You're not, and it made me feel like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't beautiful enough. I wasn't successful enough. My life wasn't perfect. Mm-hmm. I had nothing to offer this person. This is how, in my mind, that was how I felt. Because they never gave me a reason why. They never gave me a reason why. And I'll probably never get a reason why. But since they're not going to give me a reason why, probably ever, that's always going to be in the back of my mind. That's always going to be something that I'm going to carry for a long period of time. Because I was vulnerable and I felt like it was not appreciated. It was not accepted for whatever reason. And sometimes you want to know. You want to know why. Why? Why do you say these things and then you turn around and you do something else?
Right.
What did I say? What did I do? That kind of thing. So moving on to vulnerability isn't weakness or not insecurity. Yes, this is talking about relationships.
Is this the definition?
No, it's not a definition. It's talking about the positive side of being vulnerable in a relationship. It isn't considered a weakness or an insecurity, because a person who gets vulnerable is strong enough to be able to open themselves up.
And that's great. But I feel like my intentions are very clear and they're very pure and they're very genuine.
And you probably are vulnerable in that aspect. See, you're taking.
I think maybe it shows in a different way.
You're probably taking vulnerability as I gotta lay down all of my bull crap that I've dealt with. I think you're taking that aspect of it when actually, like you just said, you're being pure, you're being vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, you're telling somebody, this is the crap I'm not dealing with. This is the boundaries that I'm setting up. This is how we're gonna play this. That, to a certain degree, that is being vulnerable, because you don't know how that person is gonna receive it. They could be like, F you, I don't want to be with you, but you have been kind of vulnerable to let them know, hey, this is how I play the game. That is a form of being vulnerable. That is, because you're letting that person know up front. That is, see, you actually are vulnerable, not in the way of spilling the beans of all of the crap that you've ever dealt with. That doesn't always necessarily mean that. So yeah, that's why I say you might end up changing your mind just a little bit, because
from this podcast.
Well, yeah, just from learning that being vulnerable doesn't necessarily mean spilling your guts out and telling a person all the bad crap that's ever happened to you. That's not necessarily vulnerability. Vulnerability is saying, hey, this is what I'm not going to accept. And then you are waiting for that person to respond or not, because you are being vulnerable. What if I just be fake about it? Oh, no, that's fine. That's good. Oh, it's all right. That's not being vulnerable. That's being like, that's holding in to what you really want to not deal with.
That's Betty Crocker for you.
Yes. And I feel like there's a lot of women out there that are that way. They will put on a facade. They will put on a facade for as long as they can because women are better at it than men are. They are better at it. A woman can give you a facade. She can do it for years. And then all of a sudden, I'm in love with this woman. I want to be with this woman. And guess what happens? The mask come off. I'm not going to say the word I want to say. Boy, you mine now. You ain't going nowhere. This is how I really am. And then you looking all crazy because you know what? You rejected that woman who was vulnerable with you in the beginning. But you went to the woman that facades all of it. until she got what she wanted. And then you bamboozled. That's what I call it, bamboozled. I know I am going left field with this. Yeah, I'm going left field. I'm talking about all
I handed you the baton a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm talking about the people who think that they doing good when they really aren't doing good. And this is what I'm talking about. So vulnerable referring to a male is when he speaks of his past and present failures and problems. He is at risk of getting hurt. So this is kind of the negative side of why I feel like guys are not vulnerable, because they don't want to talk about all of that, because they feel like they've
been traumatized. They've been, like you like to say, when you've been screwed over so many times, you just kind of shut down, I guess, in a sense.
A woman will do that.
Guys do that too.
A guy will do that if he's sincere. To me,
yes.
A guy has to be sincere first before, he is traumatized by a woman he claims that he loves or claims he wants to be with. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I? To me, if a man really wants to be with a woman, or really likes the woman, or really wants to open up his soul to her, it doesn't come instantaneously. A woman, it might come instantaneously. A woman, if she
wants to be vulnerable,
a woman, if she really likes the guy, she may be more susceptible to giving out information or really allowing him to understand her as a person. To me, a guy, he doesn't do that right off. But what happens when he does do it and the woman throws it back in his face and laughs at him, then that is when he refuses to be vulnerable anymore. And it may take a special person or someone who really takes the time to understand him as a person. So that's why I was saying, guys don't like to be vulnerable. They don't like to be. It may take them years. It may take them months. It may take them however. And I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but you have to also look at it, how a woman feels when she is that. Because every woman is not vulnerable to a man. She may tell him certain things, but then she's like, you know what, I got another dude over here, and I tell him what he wants to hear,
right.
And then I'm gonna go over here with him, and then when he call me, then I'll just tell him a little story, that kind of thing,
right?
So I mean, I feel like women have more game anyway,
of course,
than men do, because a man, after a while, he tells on himself. He tells on himself by his actions. He tells on himself by keeping information. A woman can communicate the lies. Like, she can communicate lies and not even...
Don't give away all our secrets.
I'm just saying I don't personally do that, because if I personally don't want to be bothered with you, I'm going to tell you straight up, nah, this ain't going to work. I'm going to need you to move on, or I'm just going to be just cutthroat, like,
right.
Just not, like, block your number or not call you. Like, no more.
No.
I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to show you that you are...
There's no gain. It's a means to an end for you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no gain. If I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't. I don't like to... I feel like men lead women on more so than women lead men on.
Right.
And I say that not talking about that there's not females out there that are players.
Right.
I'm talking about women that are really into a guy.
Right.
She will go to the ends of the earth for him. He don't want that one. He don't want that one. He want the one that he got to freaking chase around the block 100 times. And then she might be like, well, since my others didn't do this, that, and that, then I guess I'll deal with you.
No.
And we know that. I mean, I got friends that are like that. Like, the few friends that I do have, they
the females.
Yeah, that they're just kind of like, I'll deal with you because you doing a little something, something. And then when you stop doing a little something, something, then it's not going to bother me to.
It's on to the next.
Yeah. Because it's all about game. It's never about real love or being really vulnerable to someone.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, hey, we live in a crazy world in a crazy decade. And
people are crazy.
Yeah, and they don't care about hurting you. They don't care. They'll say, "Oh, well, I don't want to hurt you," or "I didn't mean to hurt you," or whatever. It's like, no, you know what you was doing. You grown. Like, you grown. We ain't 5. We ain't 9. We ain't 10. Still learning. You know what you do. That's how I look at it. I do not hurt anybody without knowing that I hurt them. That's exactly how I think. When I know that I hurt somebody, I know that I hurt them.
Because you do it intentionally? Or because they tell you?
When they say, if someone says, "Oh, well, I will never say, oh, I didn't mean to hurt you." I will never say that. Because if I did not mean it, I would not have done it.
You do things out of anger all the time.
I know, but that's not what you're understanding what I'm saying. I'm saying that I will never say to a person, "Oh, I did not mean to hurt you." Because I did mean to hurt you. Because why wouldn't I have not done it? You know how some people will hurt you and then they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't mean to hurt you." No, you did. You did, because you knew what you was doing when you did it. I think I'm losing you. As a grown person, I feel like anything that you do to someone.
So it's intentional, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You intentionally hurt people.
Yeah, I think that people intentionally hurt you and then they'll use the excuse, "Oh, I didn't mean to hurt you." But you did. You knew. Because if that was done to you, then you would be like, "Oh, why you heard that?" Or "Why did you do that to me?" Or "You're a bad person," or whatever. So you understand what I'm saying now?
I understand what you're saying, but
well, what do you give an example? Since you don't, you got an example?
I just don't always feel like. I feel like people don't necessarily do things intentionally. I feel like some people go off their emotions.
Okay.
They don't always think before they act.
Well, we gonna disagree. Agree to disagree, because I feel like.
I mean, we've all done it. Just like you say things out of anger.
Mm-hmm. And I meant it.
Even if you meant it, you still like.
But I'm never gonna use that excuse, "I didn't mean to hurt you," because I did mean to hurt you. That's why I said it. And I guess.
Okay, so when you do something, I'm gonna be like, "Okay, you intentionally did it."
Yep,
I'm not
and
gonna
I'm
look into like our little incident that we had. Remember back in 2020, I think it was, or 2021.
We're not bringing that up.
We're not bringing it up, but I'm just saying, was that intentional?
Was that intentional? No, that wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't intentional. It was
moving on.
It escalated.
Same difference.
See, that's not what I'm saying. That's not. I guess I'm trying to explain that
people do things out of anger. People say things out of anger.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But what I'm saying is that I would never say I did not mean to hurt you, because
just
you
because
knew.
You wouldn't doesn't mean you can't speak for everybody.
I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm talking about myself. That I would never use that excuse, "I did not mean to hurt you," because then because I would go back and think about it. Well, dang, if I did not, I would have never done it.
You're getting upset. Let's move on.
Okay. Being vulnerable in a relationship lets your guard down to connect in a raw and open manner.
Being vulnerable in a relationship allows you to let your guard down.
Mm-hmm. And to connect in a raw and open manner. Do you believe that when you?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
but I'm not vulnerable, remember? So.
No, you said you weren't vulnerable.
No, I'm not.
And I mean, for me, I think I've only been vulnerable, really,
just recently,
one time in my entire life. I feel like, and this is, and you'll know why. You will know why as we go through it.
Okay.
of why I say that. Because there was a lot of stuff that I never shared. And there's a lot of things that people that I've been in a past relationship don't know that I went through.
Right.
They don't know, they'll never know. And it's because I did not feel that my information, okay, I'll say this. I was vulnerable when I was 19. I remember it was a discussion or something that I opened up and I told this person.
Somebody that you were involved with?
Yes. And I told this person.
Were y'all serious?
Yeah, we were very serious. And I said, whatever you do, don't tell anybody. They turned around and they told my mother.
When you were 19?
Yes. Remember I got married when I was 19. Yeah, now that y'all know. Yes. I got married when I was 19. Yes. And
okay.
And we were talking about different situations and I told them this. And they're like, no, I promise you I won't tell anybody.
And that was the last person?
That was the first person I actually was vulnerable with. Because I thought that relationship was going to last forever. Because
that was your husband, of course.
Yes, because they told me, all the sweet nothings, all the sweet nothings they tell you, blah, 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 blah. And then as soon as you are with them, then all that crap changes. And it's like, what happened to Clark Kent? Like, where'd he go? And so probably the next week later, my mom came to me and she was like, so when were you going to tell me? I'm not going to tell you what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I know what it was.
Yeah, but I don't want anybody to know what it was. And she was like, you did not trust me enough to tell me. And I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And we're talking about, that was like a whole year prior to this person. So
this was before y'all got married?
Were we married? I don't remember. I honestly don't remember exactly the time frame, but I was in a serious relationship with this person. So yeah, I think that was my first, I think that was my test. I think I may have been married to that person. That was my test to see if I could trust that person. And when that happened and they told my mother, for whatever reason, I guess it was gain for whatever reason from my mom. Like,
it doesn't sound like gain. It just sounds like they were just an asshole.
And after that, I never trusted them again with any information. They didn't know anything about me. They knew basic stuff, but they didn't know anything about how I felt, how.
So did you bring it up to them?
Oh yeah. I did. I was a hellraiser.
How did that work out?
They was like, no, I didn't mean it like that, and I just thought your mom should know. I was going to tell her when I got ready to tell her. It wasn't your place to do that. So yeah, moving 30 plus years later, I have not been vulnerable in any relationship that I've been serious in. It's been.
You're talking about me.
Huh?
When you asked me, oh, you've never been vulnerable, so that means you've never really been in love. Not true.
I don't even know if you would even call it in love. I don't know. I don't know what in love is. No, they were talking about that. I don't know what in love is, because if I wasn't in love,
love conquers all.
Then maybe I would still be in the same relationship with that person if I was in love with them. I'm just saying. I mean,
I can't say. I mean, only you would really be able to know for sure, because you were the one that was in it.
I think that when you are in love with somebody, thick or thin, you're going to deal with whatever comes. I know that my mom and dad did.
Yeah, you have to.
But I'm just saying that we don't do that anymore. There's no such thing.
That's the bottom line.
There's no such thing as real love anymore. Mary J. Blige, real love.
Yeah.
I'm searching for a real love. Someone to break. Oh shit.
Set my heart,
Heart
free.
free. So yeah, I don't think we have that anymore. I think there's no one. People claim they love, but are they really in love? Are we really in love? And that is definitely a podcast I would love to do. Really talk about being in love. The difference between loving someone and being in love. And why
Maybe you'll save that podcast for Mercedes.
Yeah, because she definitely is in love. She is in love. Like, she like this in the pool, swimming.
I feel like she's always like that.
Well, she's loved. She's always been that way, even as a kid. But I'm just saying that she actually found somebody that actually is like worships the ground she walks on. And I don't.
Not she working on.
I know, huh? Working. She working it out. But I mean, really, he is in love with her. Like, and I'm so happy for my daughter. I am, because she had a hard first relationship. And, she went through a lot of mental stuff with this person. And I think that's probably why to this day she does not like cancer men. She can't stand them. She does not like cancer men at all. She says because they are bipolar. And this is her experience. So, and then she just turned around and got a Gemini.
Oh, he's a Gemini?
He's a Gemini.
That's what I'm saying. You can't always go off the signs.
Yeah, I know. But he's no matter what. Because, we talk every day.
Right.
And, matter of fact, we were talking about, it's funny because we were talking about relationships and talking about how I feel like in all of my relationships that I've ever had that I've never been protected. I've always had to protect myself. I've always had to stand up. I've always had to be the one.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yes. Out of the serious relationship, I've never been protected. I've never. And I guess because they figure, oh, well, she's strong, or she can do this and do that. Well, why couldn't you stand up for yourself? That's what you're for.
Maybe they really just didn't care. Well,
yeah, you're right. You go ahead and say they really didn't care about how I felt and what my position was, because they were too busy trying to gain with the person that was wrong as two left shoes. I know this is really pulling.
Just so. It's just so many just layers to this.
It's a lot of layers.
And
that's why it's called vulnerability. It's because we're kind of being vulnerable right now to a certain degree. I mean, even as an actress, you have to be vulnerable when it comes to the characters that you play. You can't think you look stupid. You can't think that you look ugly. You can't think you are just that character.
Yeah.
And that's being vulnerable. And a lot of times it's hard because our ego is like, I don't want to look this way on camera, or do I look this way? Is this my bad side or my good side? The ego gotta go. You got to be vulnerable in the character that you have been cast for.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah, I got booked for another music video. So
that was the good news.
Oh yeah, I did. I didn't say the good news, did I?
No.
Yeah, and then another callback that I got. So yeah, it's slow, but it's kind of a little bit steady now. So I'm just, and then was it something else? I forgot what it was. But yeah, we'll see. Like I said, the one that I'm doing on Sunday, I actually got booked for it. So
that's the video?
That's the music video.
Okay.
So I'm playing the mom.
You're playing yourself.
I know, huh? So being vulnerable in a relationship. Okay,
like the artist's mom?
I don't know. They didn't give me a lot of, they don't ever give you all the information, and I can understand why. I don't even know who the artist is. Don't have a clue.
Oh, wow.
They won't tell you none of that until you actually,
Show
a lot of
up.
time, get on set. Yeah. Just because everything's always hush hush. That's just the way it is. Where you get used to it. It's kind of like, okay, I don't know who the artist is. I don't know nothing. All I know is what I'm supposed to do, my
Where
call
you going.
sheet,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, the address. And then once you get there, then they give you more information.
Yeah.
But that's how it is, and you get used to it. So, but let's see. Putting your heart on the line, even if that means heartache, and that's the same thing with being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's why I said you probably more vulnerable than you really actually realize, because you're putting your heart on your line. You're showing that person that you want to be with them. You're showing that person that you love them. You're showing that person that I want to grow with you or build with you. So it is a form of being vulnerable, because they might change like that. Be like, okay, I wake up, I don't like you no more. Hey, I'm telling you, this season of dating, I think, is worse than it was even in high school for me. Like I didn't date anybody. I didn't really go out with anybody when I was in high school. Just because, living in California, none of the black guys wanted to date black females.
Right.
They wanted to date everybody else. And so I got used to it. It's kind of like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then when I moved to DC area, then it was a lot different. There was a lot of black guys that liked being with black females, but I was never that girl. I was like, okay, well, I'm your girlfriend. I never put out, and I was very reserved. Like, if you did something that I didn't like, kicking you to the curb. Sometimes I wish I could be like that now. Like I was maybe that's where you get it from, because I was very cutthroat. Like the guy that I was dating for a long time, probably almost a year.
Yeah.
He was a year younger than me. It was my senior prom. And I had told him that I'm wearing red. This is the dress. My mom made my dress. My mother could sew really good. She made my dress, my prom dress. I love my prom dress. I don't even know what happened to it. And he's like, I'm not wearing red. I said, all you gotta do is wear, at that time it was a red cummerbund and a tie, bow tie. I don't want to wear red. I was like, well, my mom made the red dress already. And so I said, fine, I'll find somebody else to go to prom with. And I went, and a guy that I'll never forget his name was James Moore. Hopefully he never ever watched this video, or even he might be dead for all I know. But he always called himself liking me. So then
He wasn't your type?
not at that time. No, I thought he was just, I don't know. It's just something about him that I didn't really like.
So he was get back.
He was get back, yeah. So he would call me up, and he was like, oh, you want to go to prom with me? I don't have nobody to go to prom with. And I was like, yeah. I said, if you going to wear red. He's like, yeah, sure. Okay. We went to prom. So then what he did is that, it's so funny, because the high school that I graduated from, I didn't go to their prom because I didn't like, no, wait a minute. Did I go? No, I didn't like that school that I graduated from, because it was majority. I was in my serious fight the power life, so it was too white for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The high school I graduated from was too white, so I didn't want to go to their prom. I wanted to go to Garfield, which was a lot more black people. So that was why I dated guys that went to the high school Garfield. Yeah.
So the one you went with, y'all went to the same high school?
No. They both the guy that I was actually a girlfriend and boyfriend situation, he went to the same school as Garfield.
The one that didn't want to wear the same color?
That didn't want to wear the red.
So y'all broke up, or you just?
So we
didn't
broke
go?
up.
Oh,
We
okay.
broke up. Well, I broke up. I broke up with him. I said, well, fine. You don't want to go to prom what I want to wear, then I won't be with you no more. And I totally act like he did not exist. He would call the house. My mom would be like, such and such on the phone. I'm not here. Oh yeah, I was real lethal. Like I didn't care anymore. You totally pissed me off.
Right.
So then the guy James Moore, he called himself sliding in, and I was like, okay, I'll go prom with him. He'll wear what I want to wear.
Right.
So it was Garfield prom, and because I went both to my senior and my junior prom.
At another high school.
No, same high school. I dated another guy in my 11th grade year that went to Garfield, and I went to Garfield prom with him as well. Oh, I was very adamant. I was not going to the school I graduated from. Because it was too white.
Right.
Because I was in my fight the power kind of thing. I was very militant at that time. So the funny thing is that I had my best friend went to Garfield High School as well. And she called me, she's like, girl, she's like, guess what? I'm like, what? She said, Troy and James started fighting over you. And I was like, what? Because James was so, I think he didn't like Troy. He couldn't stand him.
Which one was James?
James was the one that the kickback.
Oh, okay.
Troy was the boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
And then I guess he told him, oh, well, since you don't want to go to prom with I'm going to go to prom with her. And I guess Troy got mad and they fought. They were fighting in the hallway about it. I thought it was funny. I was like, well, Troy acted like he didn't want to wear, why? I don't know what the big deal was. Why he didn't want to wear red. My whole entire dress was red.
Right.
So, and then I did go to prom with
I mean, that's all it's supposed to be. Like, just like when you get married.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
What do you mean?
It's like everything about the woman. Like, she kind of sets the tone and the guy just kind of follows the lead like he wants to.
Yeah, when it comes to certain things. So yeah, I thought, like I said, I don't even know why we brought that up, but yeah, that was definitely something. Yeah. And then, of course, obviously, James was a loser anyway. I just went to prom with him because I wanted to go to prom.
Right.
But, he was probably the worst date. It was so bad with him that I didn't even take prom pictures with him. He was like, my mother was so mad. He was like 2 hours late picking me up. But see, he smoked a lot. He at that time, Bud was, that's what we called it, Bud. He smoked a lot. And that's why
like weed?
Yeah. Yeah, but we called it Bud back then. And that's one reason why I didn't like him, is because he smoked a lot. And every time we go to Go-Go's, I lived in D.C., that's where we went to, a lot of Go-Go's before they started doing all the shooting and all that crazy stuff. We go to Go-Go's and he always would find me and want to dance with me, blah, 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 whatever. So, but there was nothing wrong with him. Now, he was a nice looking guy. It was that I did not like him because every time he was around, he was always high all the time. But I wanted to get
the one you went to high school with?
Yeah, James, the kickback.
So you still knew him in D.C.?
Yeah, that's where I went to school. Yes. Troy and James went to the same high school. They didn't go to the high school I went to.
I didn't know you lived in D.C.
Yeah, I lived in Virginia. I just say D.C. area, the DMV, District, Maryland, Virginia. Yes, so I just say D.C. because that's where my dad was stationed, D.C. So, but we lived in Virginia. So I'm just saying that, I didn't like him for that reason at that time, because it was like every single time he come around, he would be, he'd be high or something.
So you 2 hours late because he was high?
He was high all the time. Like all the time. Like,
even at school?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I used to go to school with a boy that would smoke before we got on the bus. His name was Stefan too. He smoked. And matter of fact, I saw him back when I probably was in my early 30s. He looked old. His hair had receded all the way back. And
not for smoking no weed.
I don't know what he was. I don't know what else he was doing.
It could have been from no weed.
But he would smoke. He smoked every day. I'd be like, Stefan, you good? He'd be like, yeah. I mean, he smoked. I don't know how much he smoked, but he'd be high every day. Every day before we got on the bus, he was high. Every single day. And I don't know what else he was doing. I mean, he could have been doing some other hardcore drugs. But when I saw him, he looked like an old man at 30. I was like, is that you, Stefan? Like, yeah, what's up, girl?
I just turned to a crackhead.
He may have been.
Because we don't do that.
Let me tell you. You know what, you guys think that you guys like are the 420 folks. No. When I moved to DC, I think everybody except for me was smoking.
And that was for a good reason.
Yeah, because I don't got time for all that. I can't.
You just can't handle it.
I can't handle it. I can't handle it because I think it's psychotic for me.
You have to go to a specialist that's
Yes.
gonna be like, okay,
Yes,
this is what.
it makes me really very paranoid. Very paranoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just
Which is normal.
Kind of, yeah, it's bad paranoid though. Like as
Right.
far as I'm concerned, everybody's my freaking enemy. So yeah, that's how bad it is. I know I'm being vulnerable
But
right
you
now.
were good with the edibles.
The edibles are different. I think it's because it goes in your bloodstream differently.
You had fun with the edibles.
Yeah.
But you've only done it with us.
Yeah, I won't do it. I will not
No,
do it
hell
with
no.
anybody anybody else.
It's too unpredictable unless you get it like from a dispensary or something like that. They know exactly how much is in there, but normally,
Yeah. Yep. You
just
can't be
never
vulnerable.
know.
You can't be vulnerable. Excuse me, with certain people. You
Right.
can't be vulnerable.
yeah.
You cannot, especially when it's dealing with that, because there's too many people. Remember when we went for Mother's Day and the lady had said that her.
You talking about to that hookah lounge?
No, when we went out to eat and the server was telling us about her niece that she was.
Oh, her
doing-
cocaine got laced? Yeah.
Yeah, and she died when she said she was 30. That's crazy to me. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. And she
she
probably
had a
was
kid.
buying. She was buying probably from the same person. And they lace it. That's why I said you don't know. Like you don't know. So some things you just can't do anymore because
Yeah.
people are out to hurt you. You can't be vulnerable. You cannot.
Right.
So vulnerability fosters closeness, trust, and intimacy. So that's what vulnerability does. It builds this trust system.
Yeah, you're
this
right.
bubble.
I'm definitely not going to tell you you're wrong.
See? So you are to a certain degree vulnerable when you get in an intimate relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you want to show that person, hey, I want to be with just you. I'm tunnel vision where ain't nobody else getting my attention. So, I personally think, I don't know, I think guys, I don't know. I guess it just depends. Some guys like it and some guys don't like it.
When you're vulnerable?
Yeah, when you're vulnerable.
Well, I guess the guy that doesn't like it isn't the guy for you.
Ding, 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 ding,
Moving
ding,
on.
ding. Vulnerability can provide a sense of belonging and is essential to the human experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of things said that just, Did you hear that? That just, just being in a relationship in general, like, is good for your health.
Yes, it's very good. That's why I say that you cannot allow somebody to be vulnerable with you
Right.
if your intentions are not pure.
Right.
And the only person that knows that your intentions are not pure is yourself. So when you meet someone and you kind of like them, but you're not really sure, I think that you should be upfront with it. Like, seriously be upfront. Like, seriously be upfront. And I mean, use your words properly. Not sit there and say, I may feel this way later. I may not feel this. Just tell them, no, honestly, I don't know if this is going to work. Because
That's how you want people to be with you.
Yep, that's how I want people to be with me. But I've always been, that's how I was raised. My mother was very straightforward. So that's what I'm used to. I do not like people that are not straightforward. I do not like people who don't use their words properly. I do not like people not to say what they don't what they don't mean.
Right.
Just tell me up front. Because see, I can handle it better. You don't realize that the type of mother I grew up with.
But do you let them know that? Or you just kind of give them the benefit of the doubt?
I give them the benefit of the doubt. I give them the benefit because everybody is maybe not used to being that way, because they grew up being around a person that did not tell them the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. My mother was straightforward, truthful. She didn't care if she hurt your feelings, nothing. That's the way she was.
Because that's how her mom was.
And I loved that about my mother. As much as we may have butted heads, I knew that's how it was. And I had to figure out how to deal with it and be honest up front. My mother would always tell, I don't care if it hurts my feelings. Tell me up front. I need to know. Because she's like, I don't know. Maybe she grew up around people not being honest and upfront with her. And she made a decision that when I have my children, I'm not going to be that way. And I have to commend my mother for that, because there's a lot of mothers that don't tell their children the truth. They don't do it. I'm protecting them. I don't want to let them know. And see, I'm that way with you guys. And I try to be that way with Heckle and Jekyll upstairs, but
they don't want to know the truth.
I don't feel like they want to know the truth. I feel like they love the fantasy.
Yeah.
And I think that's bad.
And I think it's just to that generation. Because that's what society is kind of molding.
Make a fantasy. But then when reality really hits.
Making everybody like soft as a marshmallow.
Yeah. But then what you can do with a marshmallow is that you put it in the fire, and what does it do? Burns up.
Mm-hmm. Turns to crisp, but they're actually pretty good. I mean, not in that sense, but you know.
Yeah.
We're raising a bunch of softies. But no, I'm very honest with Jillian. Like, her and I have normal conversations.
But you know, I think because I think her generation is called Alpha.
I thought she was Gen Z.
No, she's not Gen Z. That stopped when if you look up, I don't know exactly when Alpha starts, but she's an Alpha.
Oh, okay.
And their generation, I feel like, is unfortunately, if we keep going the direction that we're going. You ever see the movie The Road? Mm-mm. It's a movie about, it has, what's her name? I can never pronounce her name. The South African white woman.
Yeah, I know
what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. She was in it, and it was basically how everything came to a complete halt.
Right. The world pretty much ended.
The world pretty much ended, and she had a baby, and they basically barricaded themselves in the house.
Or her husband?
Her and her husband, and she eventually had the baby. She
was pregnant during the time.
She was pregnant when it was normal, and then everything went to shit. And then they barricaded their home, and they only went out I think they only went out during the day to get supplies and stuff like that. But at night, you weren't supposed to go out at night because
it was dangerous.
It was very dangerous. The cannibals, anything you could think of was out there.
Right.
And it was 10 years that they lived, and they raised their son and taught him, did everything. And she decided she didn't want to live like that anymore. She's like, I can't do this anymore. And at night, she just left and went out. And of course, obviously, she got killed. But she just could not. She was like,
I think I've seen this movie.
Yes.
This came out a while ago, right?
Yeah, it came out a while ago, but it was very disheartening. It was very disheartening because this child was raised in pretty much post-war.
Right.
And him and his father eventually
Ended up leaving. Right.
They left the house and they started traveling, his father kept wanting to go to the ocean because he felt like something was there for them.
Right.
But then his father he had cancer, and his father ended up dying.
The father was living with them?
The father, it was just him and his dad, and they eventually went on the road.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so he was trying to teach him because he goes, I'm not going to always be here. I'm not going to always be here. So I need to teach you.
So he knew he had cancer.
I think he knew something was wrong with him. Yeah. I think he knew because a lot of times your body tells you what's wrong with you. And so he was trying to teach his son, you need to survive. You need to survive. And they found this bunker. And it had all this food in it. It had all this stuff. It had a place where they could take a shower and all these things. And there was a family. They didn't know who it was because, you were fearful of other humans. And they would be really quiet and stuff. But what ended up happening was that the father eventually died.
Right. He died on the beach, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He eventually died because he had cancer.
Yeah.
And the humans that were walking above them was a mother and a father, and they had I want to say a daughter that was around his age.
I think it was, yeah.
And they had a dog. And so I think that was the first time he ever seen a dog. And so he ended up trusting to go with them because his father passed away. He didn't know what to do. And so I just feel like
that generation
that
like,
Jillian's generation will probably be able to survive.
They'll be self-sufficient.
The Generation Z may not. They're either going to learn or they're going to die. Because they've been pampered, they've been put in this
false reality.
Yes. They don't want to know the truth. And if they tell the truth, they're like, I don't want to hear it. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's to me, that's the vulnerableness of I think the generation that we're dealing with right now, because they don't want to know the truth. They like the falseness. They don't want to know.
Right.
They don't want to know. Because I've never.
Yeah. I just feel like things are starting to unfold. So Jillian, like, she just kind of like this.
Yeah, because we were hardcore with her.
She just knows how to deal with stuff. Like,
yeah,
she just knows how to deal with it.
And I think it's probably why they're called alpha. At the beginning.
Because you see all these little kids now, like little kids like her age, like they're all the same.
Yeah, and they're very
tough.
aware.
Right.
Very aware. I mean, even the babies that are born now, they're freaking this one baby told me that her when I went to do when I was a rage zombie, and she just had a 5-month. She said the 5-month is sitting up, wanting to eat baby food. Like she said, he's sitting up. I don't remember you at 5 months. Y'all would be like, ooh, ooh. So that says a lot about where we're going. If a child that young
is so far advanced,
self-sufficient, because they're gonna have to be. Like Mad Max. Anyone who's seen Mad Max, they know.
Right.
They're gonna be the leaders.
Right.
They're gonna be the leaders.
They're gonna be ready to go.
They're gonna have to, because I don't know where we going, but it sure ain't up. It seems like it gets worse every day. Every time I go in a grocery store, it's like the hell. The difference between vulnerable, this is the part that I wanted to tell you about. Yeah. The difference between vulnerable and being open. Vulnerability is an invitation to let others share in the deepest emotions. Openness does not allow for this kind of raw exposure of a person's soul. So, going back to me, I will no longer be vulnerable.
You said you're only vulnerable the one time.
I was vulnerable twice in my life.
Okay.
One where I told you, and another vulnerability.
Recently?
Yeah, recently.
Okay.
And I will never be vulnerable. I will never be that vulnerable again.
Are you sure you're vulnerable?
Yeah, I was. I was very vulnerable. I was very vulnerable.
And you didn't tell that person that you wanted straight up honesty?
they opened that door for me to be that way. And so I figured that was how they were going to be. And to a certain degree, I felt like they were open and that was it. So I feel like since I don't know the difference with somebody, now when somebody says, oh, I'll be open with you, I don't know exactly what they mean.
Right, yeah.
So that was an eye opener for me. Yeah. That being vulnerable and being open are two entirely different things. Which is cool because that's what I needed to learn. Sometimes people are there for a lesson.
Always.
So then when you move on to the next, you know what you're not going to do, how you're going to do it, and know what to do. And know the signs to look for.
Right.
It's like, this dude, he lying.
That's why I'm just like, everybody comes in your life for a reason.
You know, they always do.
Always.
Mm-hmm. And it sucks, but
because everybody's not gonna come in your life. You come in contact with hundreds of people every day.
Yes, I do.
But the people that you're meant to come in contact with for a reason, you will come in contact with them for whatever that reason is.
Yeah, and sometimes is it can be vicious. Vulnerability is the only way to get to know our authentic selves.
Do I believe that?
That's what it said on my search of the word.
So being vulnerable with somebody else only allows you to...
No, being vulnerable with whether you tell someone or not, you being vulnerable is teaching you to know who you are authentically. Whether, like when you set boundaries, that's being vulnerable because you don't know how that person...
Or no.
You can use that word, but I'm just saying that when you set boundaries or you don't know how that person is going to take it. You have no clue, right? You don't know if they're going to be like, well, I don't want to be with that person. Or, if you be like, well, you can call me, but you can't text me. Yeah, do not. Because I'm tired of the texts. If you got to have a full conversation with me texting me, then I don't want to do that. I did that in the past. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to the point where I tell guys that I'm meeting now, if you feel that you got to text me a whole conversation, just go ahead and text somebody else. Because I don't want to text anymore. I'm tired of texting. It takes too much energy for me to text.
Yeah.
It's too much energy.
Right.
If it's not a, hey, I'm going to meet you here kind of text, or I'll be there in 15 minutes kind of text, I'm not having a whole conversation.
Right.
And I don't even bother no more. I don't even tell them. I'm just like, well, I'm not texting them back.
Right.
Because I don't want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Via text. Because I just don't.
Right.
Until we are in a relationship where it's okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not sitting there saying, because I do have text conversations with my female friends sometimes when it's just convenient to do that. But people that I'm really just trying to get to know, I don't want to text.
Yeah, it's just too much.
It's too much energy.
Right.
Waste of time for me, because then that means that that's going to be the whole entire relationship.
Right.
It's going to be nothing but text.
Right. Because it's like, unless I'm like, I don't know, if it's important, then you're going to talk about it.
I know, you just hitting the nail, the nail.
Get A's on the test.
Yeah, she getting the A's on the test and hitting the, what is it? Hitting the head on the nail. Shit, I can't even say it.
Hammer on the nail, nail on the hammer.
Neither one of us can say it. I know they
drank strong.
Yeah, I did not even realize. Just imagine, like I said, if you had 2 or 3 of these. That's why I said I try not to, but it's too good not to not drink it.
No, you don't want to get the water down.
But you know what? People don't understand is that you are a bartender. So, because I've had people say, well, why do you guys drink? It's because she's showing her talent. Her talent is making
I'm displaying that.
Yes.
I mean, who doesn't? That's just like, why are you talking about sex? Like, It's just part of our society.
But I've seen podcasts where they smoking weed on the podcast. We ain't smoking no weed.
No.
So it's like, and they get thousands and thousands of likes and views. They on there
Maybe we
smoking
just
weed.
Well, I'm not gonna say.
I'm just saying that I'm just not gonna be smoking weed, but because I'll never get through. I won't even do an edible. I will never get through the podcast if I do that, because I'll be sitting here looking at the camera like this. Huh?
Right.
What?
Right, laughing.
Yeah.
Laughing
No,
the
I
whole
would
time.
never get a word in, because I look at that person and find something funny and laugh.
Like what you doing right now?
I'm just saying, because I'm thinking
So
back.
would you smoke before a podcast?
No, I couldn't, because because it lasts forever for me. Like it lasts for like hours.
Right.
So I couldn't do that. But no, I was thinking back when we had the edibles, and we were laughing at everything.
The Rice Krispie ones?
Yeah.
We went out for your birthday, Mercedes was here?
Yeah, and we stayed at the hotel.
And Boosie and Jared
Yeah,
came?
and they came, and the first thing he walked into what are y'all laughing at? Because as soon as he walked in, we were rolling.
We laughed all night long.
We did. He was like,
But we was laughing from the hotel too. We was just
on the Uber.
We was geeked up.
Yeah,
It was really
but it was
geeked up.
so much fun.
It was.
I think
We
that
had
was
a good
that was
time.
one of the happiest.
I remember because we went. Did we go?
We went to the so-called lounge, and they gonna put us in the back.
I
And
remember
we was
that.
talking about them. We was talking about the people.
I feel like we went somewhere else too. Was it the place called Hole in the Wall?
Not for my birthday, not for that time. We went. I don't know what the lounge was, but we got there what at 11 o'clock, and there still was nobody in there.
In Buckhead.
Yeah, it was like still nobody in there. It was like 11 o'clock, and it was like, well, these tables are only for people who's gonna buy.
Well, we
bottles.
had gave him
Yeah, he had an edible, but it went way south for him.
It wasn't good for him.
No, it wasn't. We had to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was like, oh, you gonna have to, and I was like, okay, well, how much bottles are? And it was like because we was gonna get Tito's, I think, and it was like $200. $200 for some doggone Tito's that I can go to the store and get for less than what, $30?
Right.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I feel like bottles are kind of set up. VIP is good for groups.
Yeah,
Like if you go with a group of people and y'all,
then everybody
like,
can pitch in. But not when you talking about.
Yeah, because it's kind of like you about to waste a whole bottle. Unless you a fucking drunk, you ain't gonna finish that bottle by the time it's time you leave.
No, it's not.
You're gonna be on the floor somewhere. They're gonna have to drag your ass out.
They're gonna take you to the emergency room.
You right.
Alcohol poison.
You right. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of alcohol for just one person.
Well,
or 2 to 4 people.
5 people. There's 5 of us.
That's
five
a
of us.
lot.
That's a lot. That's a
A
lot.
whole standard size bottle.
Because I know when we was hanging out with the other two actresses, and we would go. You went one time with us. Somewhere, was it in College Park? Somewhere in College Park.
Yeah, it was in College Park.
And he had a table, and he had got us
You want 2 older ladies?
Casamigos, huh?
The 2 older ladies?
Yeah, the two. They were both actresses.
We went to that older spot because we went to 2 different places.
Yeah, we went. No, not that spot. We went. That was first with the older
second
spot.
place.
But the second place, because they was like, yeah, we're gonna go here. That was
That's
like
when
the
I got
spot.
sick before we went into the club, or
Yeah, that was
after?
when you got sick in the.
This was before we went into the club.
Okay, remember we went to her house
Yeah,
and you had done some edibles,
yeah, because I think I had smoked prior to
and
going.
and then the old boy was like, "Don't eat the whole thing," and he's like, I can't eat the whole thing, and you ate the whole thing, and then we
Plus,
went to
I was drinking because she had made, I think, margaritas or something.
Yeah, we had drinks before we left, and then we went to that older place. She took us to older, because I think it was one of her friends' clubs. And she's like, I want y'all to go and meet them or whatever. And we went, and I mean, it was crowded. It wasn't, but it was not mine.
No,
it was not my cup of tea.
The vibe. Yeah,
it wasn't my cup of tea at all. I mean, it was nice. I mean, there was guys buying us flowers and stuff, roses and everything. And I was like, yeah, this ain't me. These men are like my dad's age. I'm like, no.
Right.
You know, because if you in the club, that means you don't got to. Well, anyway.
See, if you at the club, you ain't got no money. Not necessarily.
Oh, you know what I mean. That place, I just felt like it was like, I don't know. I just.
So you don't want to meet nobody in the club?
No, don't. I did that in my 20s.
So if you went to a lounge 30s. Or something and somebody just happened to start talking to you,
a lounge that's not a club. That's a lounge. You go in there, you eat. They got food. You're ordering off a menu.
Right.
there's not
Music
really
like a DJ.
yeah, there may be a DJ, there may not be, but they're playing music.
Right.
But it's more of a sit back.
Right.
Of course I'll talk to somebody, but to an actual club like I used to go to when I was on
Like
my
a nightclub,
in
like
my
that's
20s,
specifically what it is.
30s,
Yeah.
I'm not doing it
Right.
because I feel like you just going there to meat market.
Right.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the place that we went to after, in the place and he had the table because and you had got sick in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then we went in there and he had got Casamigos because every time I went there, like 3 or 4 times with them, and he had a certain table that they set him in.
Did you talk about that pool where it had pool?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I remember now.
Yeah, and then he had got Casamigos for us.
Yeah.
But he always got Casamigos. I don't even know how much that bottle cost. But we sat at that table and we danced. To me, that was the most fun time. Even though the crowd was younger, it was still.
This was the guy with the dreads, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got one more talk about. And
one more question?
Yeah, one more conversation kind of thing. Love makes people vulnerable when we offer and accept affection in our intimate relationship. We encourage our vulnerability and discourage our controlling defenses. So, with that, love makes people vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And vulnerability also discourages our controlling defenses. So if you're when you're with the guy who's controlling, and when I'm saying control who you are, then he's not really vulnerable because he wants to control every aspect of you.
I've never been with a guy that was controlling.
You never been with a guy who's controlling? Period? At all? I must just be like, I don't know. Maybe I attract guys who want to control me. Maybe that's my thing. Is this because I am kind of a free spirit?
Right.
And so I think a guy who's controlling sees that as fun and great. But then when they find out that I'm like that and I'm not going to listen to you unless you are a good leader.
Right.
Then you just you're always gonna be butting heads with me all the time, or fighting me. Right. And I think those are the type of guys that I've had attracted in the past. Right. They have a controlling defense that they don't realize, and so because like I said, my love language is not controlling. My love language is affirmation. My love language is seeing me as the only one, and not me having to think that you have feelings or desires for somebody else.
Right.
And that's exactly probably why I haven't found someone that is true to who they are.
Yeah.
Because they have controlling issues. And I've learned, I'm finding that out, especially with men who get mad right away.
Right.
Just based on me being myself. Saying, like this other guy, he's like, oh, well, he had texted me today and he was like, oh, I really want to talk to you and, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I will not be working after 4:30.
Never heard nothing.
Never heard nothing. I'm just like, cool. Because you know what? I'm moving back to how I used to be. I'm detached completely. And, being in the Navy, growing up that way, you had to be detached because you were moving.
Right.
So, I know it sounds sad.
No, not really.
But it's hard for me. I feel like as I'm getting older, it's hard for me to trust. And if they show me one wrong move, then I'm just like, this is setting up how it's going to be probably in the relationship. And I don't know if I want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So what did you think about vulnerability in a relationship titled today? Made you think
It was an eye-opener. Yeah.
A lot of information. Yeah, a lot. But yeah, so, I'm actually loving this. I mean, I know we've done a lot of relationships and that's what we basically focus on. But I'm finding words that, content that I want to incorporate about relationship, and vulnerability was the first one, because we don't realize, like I said, the songs that I was telling you about, they're all about vulnerability.
Right.
The whole, in all of it.
Yeah.
The lyrics is all about vulnerability.
Right.
So, well, this ends our podcast for tonight. And we look forward to tuning in next week with Candid Talk with Lexee Love and
Valentina versus Valentino.
You have an awesome night, and we look forward to seeing you again. Da-da, taking my drink.
Yeah, I'm done with mine. I gotta make another one.